Welcome to Members Only, a show featuring CMAC members and the projects they produce. My name is Johnny Pacina, and I'll be your host today. In this edition of Members Only, we'll be talking to Jodi Ferguson and Garry Kennedy, the producers of Signs Following with JC. First up is Jodi Ferguson, a producer of Signs Following with JC. Let's check out a clip.
Signs Following is about seeing where God is working and then sharing it with our audience.
And I certainly wasn't going to be the guy that sat there and turned to her and said, "Your child is dead." I stopped at the same time that they had stopped praying. And I said, "In Jesus' name I pray." And I'm not sure what it was, but I reached down and I felt a pulse.
Everybody has the ability to prophesy. It's a gift. It just means you need to be willing. And this is not a shame or guilt thing. So if you're like, I have been willing for 15 years and I have not had a prophetic utterance ever come out of my mouth, that's okay. Keep knocking, keep asking, keep seeking. Okay?
And I was standing there, and all of a sudden, I felt this whoosh, and I just kind of fell backwards in my chair. Mm-hmm. And my girlfriend later told me that I felt the breath of God. Wow. So it was pretty amazing. Wow. So as the service was ending, I did go to the stage and fell to my knees and just broke out in tears.
God is moving. Can you see the signs?
Welcome back. Wow, what a great set of clips there, Jodi. Thank you for being here tonight and taking the time out of your day to be here. So.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Of course, yes. So I'm sure after seeing that clip, a lot of the time members want to know, well, delve a little bit deeper into what that content is and what actually that all entails. So what exactly is the show Signs Following with JC?
Well, Signs Following with JC is about really seeing what God's doing in the earth and then showing, normal everyday lives of people, what's happening around you.
Gotcha. So yeah, it's clearly you have a lot of guests on the show.
Yes.
It seems like you have a lot of people that you're interviewing, so you stay pretty busy, I'm sure, with your pre-production, scheduling all those and all that.
Yes.
Well, you kind of touched a little bit on the inspiration of the show, but what is the ultimate, purpose for showcasing these individuals?
Well, it's really to see what God's doing. It's based on a scripture in Mark 16:20. They went everywhere and preached the gospel, the Lord working with them and confirming his word with signs following. So it's really about seeing what God's doing in the earth today. Does he still heal? Do people actually prophesy? Getting more information about things like that.
Definitely, and with all those variety of guests and different topics you discuss, you discover different ways in how that occurs. So
yeah.
That's really great. Have you found yourself surprised about any of the stories, or just something that kind of you didn't expect?
Yeah, they've actually really been amazing. Like one of the clips you just saw with Curtis Shirtliff, where that boy was raised from the dead. I mean, they're amazing stories, and it's so neat to see people actually just share their heart and to get a view of what their life's like, how tragic illness and different things are, and then when they experience some great sign from God, how comforting that is, how it makes them feel.
Definitely. It seems like your show allows people to share those stories too, because maybe a lot of the time they may have never told someone else that particular story and experience they've had. So your show seems to allow a platform for that, and you make that a really interesting show. So, and the show varies in length, or is it mostly about a half-hour show, would you say?
We're doing about a half hour each time. Yeah, that's all we've done so far anyway. Yeah.
Do you find that when you have these interviews that there's a lot of information that you have to trim down and keep it to that time mark, or do you think it's pretty much all there usually?
It's kind of trimmed down. We try to also do a little bit of teaching, testimony, mix some different things in, but we are trimming it down because there's a lot of content. We've even had to split one into 2 shows.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, there's just, people have a lot to share, so you can't just cram it all into half hours sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So what goes into the making of the show? Like for you, what is how do you find your guests? Are they already a part of something that you're involved with, like say a church group already? You're aware of these people around, or do you actually seek out some people? How does that work?
Well, so far it's really just people that have crossed our paths. Like we have a good team of people and just have everybody kind of on the lookout. We try to keep it in the category really of in prophecy, healing, prayer, and kind of keep it in that structure so that it's not just anybody. Because sometimes, people get like, oh, I have an aunt, do you want to interview this person?
Right, yeah.
So we're kind of keeping it in that kind of tight time frame. And I've really just, myself or the crew has just run across people and are like, well, this is a great story, they need to share this.
Gotcha. And how do you ultimately reach out to them? How do you find them?
Maybe a news clip, maybe a
Okay.
friend of someone, or like I have friends that we haven't even interviewed yet that have had amazing things happen, or
Wow.
coworkers. I have a couple
Oh, really?
coworkers on the show. Yep.
Oh, wow. How do you just tell them, hey, I have a TV show and, you want to share your story about, that? Is that how you approach them usually?
Yeah, or if they come in or I see them somewhere and they're sharing something with me and I'm like, wow, do you want to be on TV? Do you want to share that? Would you like to actually tell all about this in public, for
Wow.
the public eye?
Yeah, sometimes it's not necessarily a hard sell, right? You want to be on TV? Yeah, of course. Right? If people want to be on TV, but sometimes they might not want to be though, too. So.
Well, when you make them cry, we're not trying
yeah,
to, but it's really
it can-
emotional
I'm
sometimes.
sure. Well, a very personal thing, right? Just hearing those types of stories and what they experience. Yeah, even with some of the shows I volunteer on as working here at CMAC, and you can get those people that share those stories and express themselves, and you really learn a lot of fascinating things, and I think it makes for great TV too. So you're on a good roll there. So I would say keep it up.
Thank
Do you have? So it sounds like then you do have people that are kind of ready to go. Do you have, how far in advance are these episodes planned out? Do you have like the next few ready to go, or?
We probably have like at least a little bit of a framework going out, kind of what do we want to do, and maybe some ideas of who to talk to. So maybe 3 to 4 weeks out. It's not super
Okay.
far out.
Right.
Like I probably make Garry a little bit nervous sometimes. But
Yeah, we'll have to hear what his side of it is there in the next portion. So for crew then, you mentioned Garry. We'll talk to him a little bit more on how more of the technical aspect of the show is. But for your crew, how do you have co-hosts sometimes? Do you happen to, how do you reach out to have a crew for the show?
Garry does help with that, but we have like my sister and a couple of my friends, as well as some of the staff here at CMAC helps us out. So it's just been a good kind of gathering people together, and we want to make it fun.
Oh, definitely.
So
Ultimately,
they have
that's
great
the goal.
input.
Yeah, of course, right? Make it fun, and everyone can get something out of it, whether they're learning camera work, and you end up learning about the topics of the show, and it can be really a great experience for a lot of people just to see something different. So that's great. So I know the answer to this question, how often it shows on a monthly basis, right?
Yeah.
New episodes every month. I show reruns as well. I program that for local audiences. But do you think maybe you might amp up the frequency of the show, maybe 2 a month, weekly maybe eventually?
We've talked about it. I do work full time, and a lot of the people do as well. So I would love to go like every 2 weeks. But we
Right.
really would have to be a little more organized, maybe schedule studio time on a consistent basis.
Right. Yeah, we actually, a lot of members that we've talked to, especially on this show too, they talk about how challenging that can be, the availability of guests, like you said, work full time. How do we make this happen? But I think you're a perfect example of a member who can do that on a monthly basis at least. You don't have to make one every week or every day even. I don't think someone's done that yet, but
That would be hard, yeah.
That would be really hard. Yeah, it'd be like a full-blown news studio at that point, right? A daily thing. So in terms of the show itself then, where do you see the future of it going? Do you see it's going to continue? Do you think it's going to turn into maybe some other shows that you do, or are you going to stick mainly to this? What is the future?
Well, I really would like to do more field, like out in the field. Like there's some healing rooms in different cities. There's people that I'd love to talk to. So I would really like to broaden it and go out a little bit more.
Gotcha. Yeah, it
So-
looks like you're kind of doing that here and there with some of the
Yeah.
people, like, you go out and some of the public speaking events that your guests have been on to.
Right.
But yeah, and that's a great thing too, is some members don't think they realize that, oh, I'm going to do a studio show, and they don't even think of the aspect that you can bring it onto the field and kind
Yeah.
of mix and match the show. You know, you can have your footage from out on the field and, you know, talk to someone about the experience there and cut to something like that. So that's something I think would work great for your show, and I imagine it'll probably be a part of the future of it too. So
Yeah, that would be fun.
yeah, it definitely. Now I'm trying to think back. How long has it been on air now? Are we coming up to like 4 months now? 5
Yeah,
months?
just since like August. So I
August?
think we have 6 or 7 shows that we've done. One hasn't aired yet.
Okay. Yeah, that's always great. We really appreciate having episodes in advance so that we can really plan out the time. And when can viewers watch the show?
On the first Sunday of the month at 3 p.m. is our normal, time.
Blocked-in time. Yeah, make sure to
So
hold that
like
in.
Super Bowl Sunday will be the next one.
Oh, hey, there you go. Hey, at
I'm
least-
sure they'll want to turn off that football stuff and,
Oh, no.
and watch the show.
That's okay. No, we do have reruns, and also I'd like to mention too that when the episodes do air, we try to make it so that they're also viewable online. And do you post them online as well after the fact? Do you put them on YouTube?
We do, and I have a YouTube site,
Great.
Signs Following with JC. So you
Gotcha.
can
We'll,
watch 'em
we'll
there
make
as
sure
well.
to plug that and get that all information at the end of the show too. So,
Thank
all right,
you.
we're going to get close to talking about more in-depth stuff about the show, the technical aspect, and how that experience has been, especially with Garry, and we'll learn a lot more, I'm sure. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Garry Kennedy, another producer of Signs Following with JC. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Members Only. Joining us now are Garry Kennedy and Jodi Ferguson, the producers of Signs Following with JC. Let's take a look. Welcome back. Well, hey, familiar faces here.
How you doing, Jodi?
Garry, welcome.
Good to see you.
Yes, and gosh, I want to say it's your third time on the show now. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I
Third or fourth.
think that just goes to show how involved you are, and we appreciate you
Love it.
as CMAC staff. You know, we love having you around and seeing you involved and being a part of this project too, which I think is a very good thing.
It's awesome. I'm just so happy to be able to participate in it. You know, it's an awesome show, and it's given to us by God. You know, Jodi came back from a trip from Brazil. Mission trip. She spent a couple of weeks down there and saw a lot of miracles, and she was prophesied over, and we talked and prayed and figured the Lord wanted her to get on TV and keep spreading that message. So I'm just honored that she allowed me to be a part of it.
Well, that's great. And, you know, as something we always talk about with CMAC is, you know, people will team up and create productions. And then oftentimes you'll find that those people also have shared interests and,
Absolutely.
and focus in on that. And that's something great to see
It
too.
helps.
And
It helps a lot.
And it helps,
Otherwise,
right?
it doesn't last.
Right.
But we
you
can
know,
pray for each other. So if it goes wrong, we'll just take it up with the Lord.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So that is this, I think, and again, just a perfect example of what's happening at CMAC, and because of CMAC, that's what's been going on. I think I've so many situations I've seen that happen.
I worked with a lot of people here, and a lot of them, you know, you don't get along, and unfortunately, you just stop working together. But for the most part, 90% of the people down here, it's fantastic. Everybody helps everybody. So
Excellent.
great
excellent.
environment.
Yeah. Well, one thing we kind of talked about at the break that was the actual title of the show. I don't think we really delved into that as much, but so the meaning of the title and what JC stands for, right? Do you want to, Jodi, you want to
Sure.
talk about that?
So Signs Following with JC, JC stands for both Jesus Christ and it stands for Jodi's crew.
There you go.
So we really wanted a crew to come together. I always say it's not about me. It's really about, you know, the crew, and it's about highlighting what God's doing, not me.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that we wanted to make sure to put that in there too, because I think it's a really clever way of using the title, and it has a nice ring to it.
Yeah,
so,
and as she mentioned, you know, she has a lot of family members. So, and she also has her own nonprofit ladies group out in Clovis. And so when she ventured into doing this, I stressed to her how important it was to have a crew. So she brought along half her family and friends, which is great. And that's why it's okay to call it Jodi's crew, because
Right.
they've known each other and been in ministry together for a long time. So if there's any church group out there or anybody that wants to come down here, bring your church family with you, and you always got a crew.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
because
great.
that's the hardest thing to get, and in time you'll get experienced and you'll learn.
Yeah,
So-
most definitely. And speaking of the experience and learning, you kind of took Jodi under your wing, I feel like, and you kind of showed her the ropes of the show and how to make a show. And
As others have done and helped me,
Yeah.
you know, you included. You
Yeah.
interviewed on my first TV show down here. And,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and Kyle's
fun.
helped me, and Bastina and Garry Johnson. They're just a group of people that Paul, I could go on and on, you know, that have taught me. It's now my fourth year or whatever.
Yeah.
Because when I first came in, it was just an Instamatic camera, point and shoot. That's about all I knew. So,
Yeah.
but you know, you learn, and
Yeah.
you know, I knock on your door all the time
Oh,
for
yeah.
help. So.
That's all right. I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
I make sure to leave the door open too, though.
Yeah,
so
and you're
everybody-
very you're very gracious. Anybody
Yeah.
thinking about coming down here, don't hesitate.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, no,
Sure.
and this, in terms of this show, because you've done probably so many productions now, it's even hard to count. You've done so many now, and they've all been, you know, like I've said before, I've seen them just increase in quality the more you do it, and that's just
Yeah.
great to see from the standpoint of staff and being able to see the progress there. But
Sure.
in this particular show, have you encountered any new challenges with the, you know, new production things that you've tried out, new camera work maybe?
Oh yeah, for sure. The first clip you saw on prayer with Curtis, which was a great one, and it happened at Dinky Creek just last year. It was in the news and everything else. So I was moving equipment around at the Freedom House, the ministry home she has out in Clovis, and I tripped and knocked a lamp over and busted a big jar and everything else. But you know, it's part of the hazards of working in the field.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've learned a lot. On the field, you don't have a controlled environment like you do in the studio. So every time you go to shoot, somebody tells the dog next door to start barking.
Never
it's like-
fails, right?
It doesn't. You know, it's like But there's just so many other things, you know. Lighting is a big issue, and of course, audio is a big issue, you know. And we just did a shoot out there for the Louise Plow thing that's coming to town here in the near future, and Stina and I. Well, Stina had the boom pole up, but unfortunately it was in the shot too.
Oh,
you know, so
okay.
things that normally don't happen here in the studio, it's just a whole nother environment.
Definitely.
But I prefer doing it out there,
Right.
because there's just it's more exciting. You get tired of the studio.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of chairs and just talking. You
right.
know, out there you take your time, you interview the people more. You just have a good time.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
it kind of allows, in my opinion too, it allows a little bit more creative flexibility.
It flows.
Because you can pick your shots a little bit easier. When you're in the studio, you kind of know, okay, general idea, the camera should probably point this way and that way, cross shooting. But like when you're on the field, like you said, you're in a different area, some new challenge. You have to figure out what would be the best angle, lighting wise, time of day, things like that.
Totally different. We just did a shoot with the premiere of Gavin Stone, the resurrection of Gavin Stone.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
At the Edwards Theater, and had Jodi interviewing. She did a great job, but what an opportunity! You know, there's hundreds of people around, and she's doing an interview. I mean, first time, and she did great.
Well,
you know?
anytime the camera's in public, it seems like people really, whoa,
Oh
what's
yeah,
that
what's
about?
going on? Well, it was a premiere,
Yeah.
and Fresno was selected out of 1,500 locations in the country that
Wow.
it was being shown at, and we had the lead actor in Fresno, thanks to Harvest Church here in Fresno.
And you were able to interview him too.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what we want to do with Sign Followings. There's we got to develop the crew, and then we want to go on the road and hit some of these big name people that prophesize and do deliverance ministries and stuff like that, and present that to the public. You know.
That's fantastic. And with all the equipment, and how was that particular situation shooting at Edwards? Was the lighting? Was it dark?
It was dark. Once I got on Adobe Premiere, which is editing machine or application, I had to lighten it, which Kyle showed me how to do. So
Thanks, Kyle.
thank you, Kyle. So yeah, it's just there's more obstacles because once again you don't have a controlled environment, and you know the neon lights were shining on the backdrop and everything else. So you know people were taking flash pictures. You know, but it was terribly exciting, and you know hopefully once again some of these projects we'll do in the future, like the one you saw at the retreat, which dealt with prophecy. We had that at Sugar Pine, and there was a women's retreat. I was the only guy there, so I didn't get to spend the night. I had to go down to Bass Lake.
Oh, yeah.
But come back, and Bustina was there, and we had the TriCaster, the remote one.
Yeah,
which
mini
really helped.
TriCaster.
Mini TriCaster, which is an application that switches the pictures for you so you don't have to do it later on in editing.
Right.
So we're all learning that way, and now she's going to have an event in March in Clovis, and we're going to have our crew there to film that. We're having some people from Global Awakening coming, and we're going to prophesizing and deliverance and prayer and all that good stuff, and we're going to film it and put it on the air.
And I'm sure when you think of an event like that that's already going to happen, I mean, it's maybe probably already coming, for me at least, when I do it so often, it's become second nature. Like, okay, crowd, I know what we'll probably need. I probably don't want to take a tripod because that could get in the way. Maybe handheld. And you start thinking of all these variables, and the more you do this type of thing, the more it just becomes second nature, and you can just go with it.
You're just hopping.
Yeah, and it's great to have that team too, you know, because, you know, Jodi, maybe you'll have an idea for something like, let's go out and do this shoot. And then Garry will be like, all right, great, I know what to do. Let's put in the reservation, what we need, go out there. You mentioned the mini TriCaster. I want to kind of plug that right now too. Was that the first? That was the first time you had used it, right? The portable TriCaster.
We tried once before, and it was a failure. We didn't know what we were doing.
Crash and burn.
Yeah, but you know, you still had the cameras just slide in an SD card, so we know how to overcome it. But yeah, it was a couple of years ago we tried, and it didn't work. This time it worked really well, but I couldn't have done it without Bustina. You know, we thought about using it at an event we just shot this Saturday, the law enforcement breakfast, but decided 2 cameras, 1 roaming camera would be okay.
Gotcha.
And it works well. Jodi picks all the things that we're going to do in the future when it comes to signs following with JC. I don't select any of the things we do. She does it all. And she's done great picks so far, but she's got some great ones in mind for going out of town.
Yeah.
That, you know, if people want to learn any more about prophecy or anything else, this is a show to watch.
Yeah.
Or, you know. Like I said, they have a place out in Clovis too, and they have healing rooms, and they do a lot of active prayer for people that just are not just on a TV show. They're the real thing.
Well, yeah, no, most definitely. It's easy on the eyes too, because like I said, the quality is up there. You know, it's easy to show to watch, easy show to access.
Yeah.
And you know, it's all solid. So that's great to see. Are you thinking of maybe trying something new in terms of production? Maybe eventually using like the jib or something?
I'd like to. Yeah, I want to get a drone out there. And,
a drone, right?
Yeah, at the Freedom House, because it's out in the country and it's hard to find. So get it going down the street, turn right here. You know, got this dirt road a ways, you know, and there it is. So
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, the jib, drone, anything. Some of the new smaller equipment we have here now with the iPad and stuff. I mean, it's just so awesome.
Oh yeah, with the exactly, the portable iPad field.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, something new we're offering at CMAC. There's always new stuff coming up, and we love seeing when members want to take advantage of it and use it, and we kind of slowly get members used to it. So hopefully for the next shoot, maybe you want to use the mini TriCaster again, or do something like that.
Yeah, it's been discussed. I'm sure there'd be an opportunity when we will use it again.
Yeah, and that's actually the very system we're using right now is the TriCaster. It's just
That's right.
the lesser versions, camera switching and all that. So I'm sure you prefer then that over multicam recording, right?
Yeah. But of course, the advantage of multicamming, which is, you know, when you get on Adobe Premiere and you're using 4 or 5 cameras, it'll show you a picture of each one, and I can watch them, and then I'm kind of selecting just like a TriCaster at that time, but it still takes a lot more work.
Definitely.
Whereas when you're using the TriCaster, that's it.
It's kind of burned in.
If you didn't
you're done.
it's done deal. I mean, you can't go back and switch it to the other camera, whereas a multi-camming you can.
You don't really have that control. It's what we call line cut, where you're editing as you're going live, right?
Yeah.
Which can be scary, but you know, if you plan.
And that's where I need to, and it's hard to get crew members in here to learn that, because it takes a long time.
Yeah. But that's okay if you put the time and effort, as we've seen here and evidenced in your work and what you two are doing. You can really make a great quality show.
It's all teamwork.
And it's all teamwork, and if you stick with it, you'll get some great stuff. So
Really
thank you both for being here tonight, Jodi, Garry.
Thank you.
And maybe we'll see you a second time and a fifth time on the show, or fourth time, right?
We'd love to come back anytime.
Yeah, well, that would be great. We'd love to hear your
We'll
experiences.
be praying about it. So.
Oh, hey, there we go.
We expect to be back.
And watch,
you.
real quickly too, I'll plug that you guys also gave me a short filler that kind of promotes this event coming up in April. So we'll give you more information on that, but thank you again, and we'll see you soon, I'm sure. All right, thank you everyone for watching today. That wraps it up. If you'd like to see more about the show we've talked about today, you can look for it on CMAC's channels, Xfinity 93, as well as Uverse 99. If you don't have either one of those platforms, you can go to cmac.tv to watch the live stream under the Watch tab. Thanks again to our guests, Jodi and Garry. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.